spot, nah, Jay. C-Dub on the beat. Back against the wall, CL20's knocking rated. IGI's tripping, validated, shoot ready.
Hey, yo, what's good with everybody, man? I hope everybody's having a productive day, feeling blessed, and like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. So, man, here's another story I want to talk to you guys about. This story is going to trip you out, right? But just wait to the end, man. Wait to the outcome of how deceitful and deceptive people can be and how homies believe in loyalty, but in reality, they don't even know who they're being loyal to. They don't even know who they bring around. You know, you got to watch your friends nowadays. So, the city of Huron, it's in Fresno County. It's usually like by Paulier and all those little Fresno areas. And, I just met one homie from there. Like, I only been there like one time. I haven't really been there like that. But they have Nortenos that come out of the city of Huron. And then there's Southsiders in the city of Huron. And they beef with each other real bad, right? So this takes place actually in Kings County in the town of Avenal at Circle K at a gas station. Cops pulled up, retrieved surveillance footage. There was a Southsider there. His name was Camaron. And he was shot in the chest multiple times. And he was laid next to, on the passenger side, he was laid next to a white Mustang, an all-white Mustang. And he was pronounced dead on the scene. Right, parked next to him in another parking lot, there was a Ford Explorer, an all-white one that had bullet holes through the windshields. The windows were shattered everywhere, glass everywhere. There was witnesses on the scene that were just there buying stuff from the liquor store when they observed this dude get shot, right? So this is how it took place. And they got into it. Why? Because this Southsider lit up one of the Nortenos' cars. He had a red Honda, shot it up like a week prior. Seen these Nortenos in the liquor store, right? And banged on him. Him against two other Nortenos. And told him to come outside. And when they came outside, he's like, all right, fool, I'm going to call some homies up. We're going to get them up. We're going to do this. And he started making a phone call and calling some Southsiders to pull up so they can down these Nortenos. Well, the Nortenos didn't hesitate. They pulled out and shot him and killed him right then and there, right? So after the scene, right, it's crazy because somebody got busted. A Norteño that was from Barrio Eastside Really. And he dropped out and he decided to work with law enforcement. Dropped out somewhere when he got busted. And I guess he was facing charges. And this is the part that kind of like irritates me a little bit, how the DA and law enforcement do this kind of stuff. So he gets busted on unrelated charges and says, you know what? Just to get himself out of the wreck or give himself a deal or, not even face charges in the first place, he goes, hey, I got information on a murder. And the cops are like, interesting, what murder? And he tells them what murder it was. And they happen to know exactly what murder he was talking about. So immediately they sat him down and made a deal. That's the part that bugs me. Like, bro, you committed a crime, man. You know stuff, you know information. Hey, it's none of your business, bro. Just take your time, man. Take your lickings. But in order to save himself, he decided to say, you know what? I'm going to speak on this hot one and get myself out of this jam by putting somebody else in a jam. Very treacherous, right? Very scandalous deeds, but it happens. Dirty deeds, Woody. So he starts talking to the cops and he tells them the morning of that murder, after that murder took place, they had these two Norteños, Chino and Bam Bam from Huron Park. They're Norteños. One has a Norte on his chest. He has an X4 on the back of his arms. He had a Huron on his hands, I believe. The Southsider that got smoked, that was from Huron. He had a Huron on his hand. He had Southside on his back. He had the 13 like on the by here, like Mi Vida Loca tattoo. So they knew each other. Obviously they're from the same city, so they were beefing with each other for a very long time. So they call old boy up and they're like, hey man, can you bring some meth over? Can you bring some crickety so we can get all wired and weirded out and everything like that and get all spadackle? And sure enough, he shows up. An individual, another Norteño named Grumpy, picked him up. And Grumpy took him to his apartment complex in Coalinga. Coalinga's it's a different town, bro. You don't want to go to Coalinga, bro. There's just nothing there. So they go to Coalinga to the apartments. There's 12 Norteños in their apartments right there. 12 Norteños, all listening to these two dudes talk about it. But what's a trip, right, is that he's telling these fools, he's telling everybody. Because there was an individual named Tank. Tank was from Barrio Eastside Really as well. And Tank don't know these guys yet. But he just knows that they're Northerners. So he wants to run a make on them, right? So these two Norteños are talking about, yeah, bro, our faces on video surveillance. That fool was tripping off fool. That fool started banging on us, started telling us to come outside, and he was gonna call his homies, bro. We're like, fuck, forget it, bro. Like, we ain't gonna let this fool call his homies, so we just domed him, bro. But now our faces on the news. At first, the dude didn't believe their story because he thought they were all tweaked out, right? Until their face showed up on a television screen that they were wanted. So what they did was they dropped off the red Honda that they did the shooting in, the murder in. They dropped it off at one of the mom's house. Burned the clothes, burned the shoes, got rid of the piece, right? They didn't get rid of the piece. They got rid of one, but there was a 9mm that was confiscated from the red Honda that was wrapped in a Reese's Pieces wrapper. I don't even know how that works, but it was wrapped in it. So they found it because it was called as a burglary. Somebody reported a possible burglary and they searched the vehicle and found the gun. So the dude realizes that, man, these guys are telling the truth. That these dudes really murked somebody and they're tweaked out and they're panicking and they're scared and they're just spun. And all 12 Nortenos are just right there all spun too, listening to the story. Like, that's right, fool. The only problem is Tank didn't know these two Nortenos like that. And they were claiming to be from Huron. So he ran a make. And in order to run a make, you have to contact the street regiment. Somebody that's responsible for the street regiment, right? So we had a dude named Weddle from Vado Isai Reilly, a high-ranking member in the street regiment faction around this time. But he decided to walk away too. And in doing so, he started working with law enforcement to indict a lot of people and get a lot of people busted. What his plan was to dismantle Vado Isai Reilly and the street regiment now that was being incorporated by Nuestra Familia from the penal system. So this whole time, the FBI had him working the street regiment and reporting everything that the street regiment was doing and allowing him to conduct NF business. So Tank calls him and tells him, hey, man, I got these two Nortenos. They're saying from here on, I need you to run a make on these names and make sure that they're actually from, such and such and such and such, if they're good homies. See, Weddle's responsibility was he was supposed to properly screen any newcomers or any new faces that were claiming to be Nortenos within the local area, within the immediate area, or this particular region that he was responsible for, and make sure that they were, for one, validated Norteño gang members, for two, still in good standings, and for three, that they weren't working with law enforcement. Now, I don't know what the screening is and how the street regiments find out whether or not if somebody's been cooperating with law enforcement or not, unless they have paperwork already on them. But don't you find that ironic, like an oxymoron or whatever you want to call it, ironic, that his sole job was to screen these dudes to make sure they weren't working with cops and there was no snitch paperwork. But the whole time he was working for the FBI, busting all his homies, building cases on all his homies. That was his job. That was his responsibility. So he runs a make on them and tells them, nah, they're good, man. They're active Norteños, man. Go ahead and help them out. Go ahead and assist. So he assigned the Norteños at that pad to assist them and getting rid of their clothes, getting rid of the evidence, getting them dropped off. They were going to move out of state. That didn't even work like that. They wound up getting busted at Tank's house anyways and got arrested. Weddle from Vado Isai Reilly decided he got paid out. He got compensated for all his hard work working with the FBI and building a lot of cases. And he was also put into WITSEC. Now, that's a tripped out story right there. That these dudes got busted, and one of them, I believe, when I read his sentence, he actually got life without the possibility of parole. All over, a Southsider shooting up his car, and I just find it crazy that it's weird how in gangbanging it works like this. It's hard to avoid. It just happens. It's like you're meant to get caught, or it's meant for somebody to get caught. But you're talking about a Southsider that was already in the liquor store, Circle K in Avenel. And two Norteños decided to go to that same liquor store to go buy some liquor too. And they just meet up and these dudes just happen to be beefing. This dude happened to light up this dude's car. And then this dude calls both these Norteños out saying, all right, fools, come on, let's get down. I'll call my homies. We can scrape. We can do it. And the Norteños just gunned it down right then and there. Because in court, they said, hey, man, he was going to call his homies, but we weren't going to let his homies come through. So we had no choice but to boom, boom, boom. And mind you, the dude that brought the dope to these guys, that Norteño dropout that made a deal so he doesn't catch a case, had a recording device, a digital recording device, and recorded everything that night. So imagine two Norteños that just caught a body on a Southerner, and they're tweaked out, fool. So they couldn't stop talking about it. So dude was just like, yeah, asking questions, and dudes were like, and just spilled their guts about the whole thing, what they were gonna do, where they parked their car, the car that they used in the shooting, at his mom's house. Incriminated his own mom. Well, they got busted and they got life. So it's a tripped out story because, like I said, you had two, not one, but two Norteños. One who happened to, walk away from the lifestyle and drop out, but nobody knew about it. And he was working with law enforcement. Nobody knew about it. And he's right there with a digital recording device because they call him because he's still slanging meth. And he's over there feeding everybody dope. Then you have the dude that's actually responsible for the whole region of all these cities, and another Norteño calls and runs a make because he's responsible for it, not knowing that he's responsible for the regiment, the region, but responsible for building cases on all his own homies. And he did that for like maybe, I think they said 7 or 8 months. It's a tripped out story around like nowadays, this happened like in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. So I was already busted, but you just don't know who your homies really are. And yet people join these gangs and people join this brotherhoods and people shake hands with friends and they do stuff with friends. Bro, how many people know that? How many people got busted and their own homies turned on them? It happened to me. And I just looked at it like, they told whatever. There's nothing I could do. They couldn't hang, whatever. I'll just go do my time. There's a lot of us that were in my circumstances who the co-defendants who they thought were down for the cause, down to ride, had his back. Friendships for life. We were friends since 3rd grade. And then turn on them when it's time to save themselves. Or in this case right here, you got everybody you got 2 Norteños from a whole different town, a whole different city, gangbanging in Kings County, thugging it out, running into homies right there, not knowing who these homies really are. Whole time, 2 of them are working with law enforcement, and they're over here trying to utilize the Norteño program, the street regiment, to assist them in getting away, get rid of the evidence, and drop them off out of town so they can go out of state. And they got caught up in the end by just showing up to this particular location where everybody was working with law enforcement. It's a crazy story, right? So I thought I'd bring that story to you guys' attention. So with that being said, like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. Peace.